Welcome to Sound Off with System 1. I'm your host, Krista Kornchuk, and I'm here today with our panel of experts to answer your most pressing job search questions because this is a live Q&A. Before we get started, here are a few words about System 1. System 1 is a leading provider of specialized, highly technical outsourced services and workforce solutions to critical infrastructure, technology, life science, and government sectors, putting more than 650 employees and 10,000 contractors to work in the United States, Canada, the UK, and Brazil. As you're tuning in today, please join us in the comments. Our marketing team will be monitoring them. And like I said, this is a live Q&A, so we're really excited to hear your questions. But before we get started, I'm going to have our panel introduce themselves. They will be sharing their hot job, which you can find at the bottom of the screen or by scanning the QR code. Maggie, we'll start with you.
Hi, Maggie Morovin from System 1 in Houston, the Director of Recruitment Services, and the hot job that I wanted to talk about. Are we jumping into that? Yes. The hot job I wanted to talk about was the Project Controls Manager position that we're working on for a growing data center out of Houston. They are looking for somebody that has data center construction experience specifically, contract to hire, strong pay range, depending on experience, lead planning, cost control, scheduling, risk management, performance reporting for all of this mission critical projects. Client is reviewing resumes ASAP, and we would love to get candidates in front of them as soon as possible.
Hi, my name is Katherine. I'm a senior recruiter at Jolie, specializing in life sciences and healthcare recruitment. My hot job for today is a research tech 4, which is really more so maintenance tech. It's located in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Ideally, they would like to have someone with experience with GMP or some type of manufacturing, but really comes down to 2 years of experience within maintenance. Again, they're very open as long as you have over 2 years.
Well, perfect. Good afternoon. It's Shawn. I'm a senior recruiter with Mountain Limited. Of course, we lead the division in pioneering telecommunications for engineering firms. We bridge the communication gaps and strengthen our nation's critical infrastructure. Today, my hot job is a senior permitting and joint use specialist in the Portland, Oregon, Seattle, Washington market. Of course, you must have telecom experience, joint use experience. This is a long-term W-2 contract position, of course, pays based on experience. We're hiring 5 people, so feel free to reach out.
Awesome. And make sure you connect with our recruiters if you're interested in any of those roles. And again, to view all other available jobs, you can scan the QR code in the corner. Like I said, this is a live Q&A, so please start sending in your questions for our experts. While we're waiting for your questions, I'm going to have our experts share some hot job tips that their job seekers and candidates are finding very helpful to them. So Maggie, we'll start with you.
Perfect, thank you. So some of the questions I continue to get are about resumes. I'm like, what they should look like and what kind of information should be on there. And, everybody's got their own opinions about everything, but especially when it comes to resumes. And so I always encourage candidates to try to tailor your resume to the job description. You want to keep the formatting clean and make sure it's ATS-friendly. Quantify and qualify accomplishments where you can. That's always going to stand out more than just your list of responsibilities. And then on that note, highlighting those accomplishments and not just your list of responsibilities there. And then I encourage candidates to kind of customize the summary section instead of doing a cover letter for every submission or every resume for every job. Customize the summary section. Really leverage that piece to talk about why you're a good fit for the role that you're applying to. And then one of the other questions I get too is when candidates maybe they've been in a smaller environment and they have an operations background and an accounting background, or 2 different kind of skill sets where those jobs in another world would be kind of separate. For me, I started in accounting and I've been in sales the last 15 years. And so I have an accounting resume and I have a sales resume. And depending on the jobs that I'm applying to, I would put a heavier emphasis on the accounting piece. The order of the job doesn't change, right? But it's just, this is my heavier accounting focused resume. This is my heavier sales resume. And that's completely acceptable to do that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna continue on with Maggie. The resumes is very important. I think a lot of people tend to come to us about them, and the one recently more so is about pages and how long their resume needs to be. It depends really on the years of experience. So if you're just a recent grad and you don't really have much industry experience or even just much work experience, that really should just be a page. But if you have, 10 plus, or even just as I said, just starting off and you have a couple of years under your belt, then that's where you want to have your resume a little bit lengthier. And you should not just have one page because in reality, you're not going to fit, 3, 4, 5 jobs in just a one page because as what Maggie was mentioning about tailoring your resume to matching the job, you want to add as much bullet points that matches it and showing to highlight of your experience. So you should have, I say, like, between 1 to 5. That's where it's reasonable. I think 5 is a little too high, but that's only if, like, in a science background and you have, PhD degree and you have a bunch of publications, that could take up a whole page. But again, I think it really comes down to the years of experience. So you don't wanna have it, too long where 18 I've seen people have 18 pages of resumes. You don't want that. Again, you wanna keep it 1 to 5. But if you have any questions, you can always contact one of us. Shawn will probably mention a bunch of that. Connect with a recruiter, but it's definitely true.
No, definitely. Those are great tips. And you stole my line, Kat. I'm a little disappointed. But hey, my tip of the day, and I've been encouraging a lot of people, over the years, really is LinkedIn and networking. Scary facts out there. I'll be honest with you. Roughly 80% of jobs are filled by somebody that has been networking with somebody, a connection, a referral, internal relationships. Less than 20% are actually getting offers for cold online applications. So I always say you want to reach out to a recruiter, you want to network. When you're connected, add value on LinkedIn with your network and just add conversations to all your connections. It's making you show active. It's going to help you be spotted and help you line that next opportunity. LinkedIn's the way of the future. If you're not using it, you definitely want to use that as to help you secure that next role.
Well said. Those are some great tips. I really like the stat about networking, Shawn. Thank you so much for sharing. And you all are sending in a ton of questions, so we are going to get started, and please keep them coming. We have a question from Jackie. She wants to know, what is the biggest resume mistake you see candidates making right now that prevents them from getting interviews? Great question.
Yeah, I mean, I can take that. It's really what Maggie said before. It's if you're not having a clean resume and it's all over the place and it's not really organized, which I've seen that, and we probably all have seen that a bunch of times, it starts to lose the hiring manager, us as recruiters, really reading your resume, and we can't really see if you're the right fit. You want to keep it really clean. But again, that's probably the biggest thing I've really seen is it's not a clean, organized resume.
Well, and I think too, to follow up on that, sometimes we work a lot with small to mid-sized companies, and in those companies, you can often wear a lot of different hats. And so if you started in, admin and you moved to operational accounting and now you're the office manager, you've got a blended background. What do you want to do? Right. And so when I see that, I kind of skim through, and then when it's like, okay, what does this person want to do? I go back to the summary section, and there I'm hoping to see like, polished professional looking for, an operations administrative kind of, then I'm like, okay, we can go from here. But just, clear direction on what it is that you want to do, I think it's helpful.
Yeah, definitely. Those are both great answers. I think it goes back to early on in our conversation. For the tip of the day is, unfortunately, one resume isn't a cookie cutter template. So while you're applying for jobs, make sure you're having those, experience, quantifiable achievements onto the position. The resume that you're applying for, partner up with a System 1 recruiter, and they'll make sure that your resume is fit for the position.
Absolutely. It's really great to have those second pair of eyes. I have a great question from Kevin. I think a lot of people are wondering, how likely will resumes be reviewed by humans? Some recruiters say they don't use ATS at all. Good question, Kevin.
I can start. As long as I'm still kicking and breathing, I plan on still reviewing resumes. ATS is great and all. It's a great system. It allows for resumes to come in. But for me, the personal touch in the telecom side is I just spend a lot of time looking at resumes and LinkedIn profiles and matching up a resume if they have a LinkedIn profile to make sure that the candidate is a qualified candidate for the positions we're working for. I think it really depends on the size of the company and potentially the industry you're in if humans aren't going to be reviewing your resume.
Sorry about that. I froze for a second, but I heard you loud and clear. Thank you, Shawn. Our next question, love this one. When candidates are being asked about their biggest weakness, what is the best way to answer honestly while still positioning themselves well? Good question, Jackie.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really great question. I typically say, like, if you're gonna point out your weakness, you wanna make sure it turns into a positive. So even though it's something that for you that, okay, this is my weakness, and you leave it just like that in the interview, and there's really no, hey, I can improve, and I'm learning or willing to learn, or whatever it may be that your weakness may, whatever it is. But again, you want to turn that weakness into something to positive. And that's how you want it to moving forward on these interviews, is that you're not just there and just going to take that. You want to make sure that, yes, I have this situation. This is what I think I can improve on. And this is how I think I could improve on. They want to show that your willingness to learn and to adapt.
I agree. And, who better to know your strengths and your weaknesses than yourself, right? And so not only, coming clean with those, which I tend to do often, I can't help but be overly honest. I think the best way to kind of present that is to kind of put a positive, spin on that. Like one of mine is I tend to over communicate, right? Well, somebody that loves communication is going to be like, that's amazing. I love that, right? But sometimes I'm sure my boss could attest to it might be annoying at times.
Yeah, definitely. The only thing I would follow up is the great thing about you asking this question is you're already preparing for it. I think one of the most important things that we kind of lose judgment on sometimes or forget or we think we're overqualified for roles is we don't take 15, 20 minutes and actually kind of rehearse in front of somebody, look at a mirror. I mean, I'm old school. I still look at a mirror every day, see how my day's going. I think it's important to prepare for the interview and addressing that early on just makes the situation so much easier to get through because you already know what your answer is and definitely follow it up with a positive. I mean, everybody has a weakness. If they say they don't, they're fooling you. So we grow and learn from our weaknesses and and that's how you're a better person.
Absolutely. Practice is key. And you can do that with ChatGPT, and then you can do it with a person to refine it. So I highly recommend both. We have a question from Richard. He wants to know, do you need to modify the resume for work location range? Good question.
I think so. I mean, Houston is a huge city, right? And commute is everything to a lot of candidates here. So I encourage candidates, if they're on the outskirts of town, everybody's going to assume that, to make the money and do the job, you're going to commute in. And so I will encourage candidates to list like greater Houston area, and then maybe like a zip code just to cover all the bases. And so as a recruiter or, internal or external, they can go, okay, somebody from the Woodlands isn't going to commute to Kima, right? So let's kind of, dwindle it down from there. So I would, or if it has no location on it, maybe say something about that in your opening line about where you're open to relocating to or working where.
Well said.
Yeah. Oh,
Oh,
I was
go
gonna say
ahead.
something more, sorry. If you're open to relocating, put that on there that you're open to relocating, because it does help us to see that, okay, you're open to certain or pretty much every state. But if there's particular states that you're looking to move to, I would also add in the states that you're looking to move to. Because it does help us to figure out what works best for you and if this opportunity that we have is a match like I said, for your location.
Well said. Another question from Jackie. What is the best way for candidates to recover from a question they didn't answer well during an interview? I think we've all been there. Thank you for asking.
Yeah. Yeah. I am, I'll just jump in there. I am very transparent interviewing or as I'm interviewing candidates. And one of the things that I preach and coach a lot on is, if you don't feel so great about a response or, the way you responded to something, clean it up then. have that conversation in person. Don't wait to leave, walk out the door. You have, you and your feelings about it, and then, just it lingering, right? So I've done that in several times with an interview where I get asked a, direct question, and I'm fumbling with it a little bit, and then I'm like, so I respond, and then I'm like, did I answer that well? I don't feel like I did. Like, was that clear? Do you need me to elaborate? And several times they're like, I was a little unclear about this. Can you elaborate more on, yada, yada. But I feel like it's always best to, when you recognize that you didn't answer that well, clean it up then. Clean it up now.
Yeah, definitely. I think circling back, on the question to kind of save grace is the best thing to do. But the biggest thing is being honest. We all think, interview questions throw us for a loop, no matter if you're prepared or not. So there's nothing wrong with having to circle back and just get some clarity on the question, so that way you can try to get to second thoughts and answer it correctly.
Yeah. And thank you letters. It always helps with thank
Yes.
you letters. You can always address it on there. I just actually recently had that with a candidate where she felt that one of particular questions she didn't answer it really well. She's like, oh my God, I don't know. I think I said this and I meant to add more information. I wasn't really detailed. And I said, thank you letters are always going to help, where you're more detailed as to, I forgot to mention this, but I wanted to elaborate a little bit more, and here you go into it. So they see that you're paying attention to the question they initially asked. You might have missed something, but again, you're putting it in you're going back to it, you're referencing it. So the thank you letters will always help for interviews. So make sure to do them afterwards. Like I said, you can always address it there.
That's a great tip. Thank you. We have a question from Heather. She wants to know, what should I expect from a recruiter screen call? She has one coming up. Good question, Heather.
Oh, I'll start with that one. I throw everybody off guard when I call. I want to catch people, kind of off guard, but I do a lot of scheduled calls with candidates, and I try to make that first call to be an icebreaker. I want to build their trust. I want to build a relationship with the candidate, because sometimes the first job might not be the right job for them. So really, I just try to be open. Every recruiter is different. We talk about stories, what their future is, kind of look at the whole piece of the pie, and what are they actually looking for in that next adventure in their career opportunity. So I'm a little crazy, but we laugh and joke and try to break the ice, and then we talk seriously about the right position, so that way they can feel better with that next position.
Yeah. Most of us, we're recruiters because we're people first, right? And so you can't help but be personable and have, the icebreakers and things like that. And I had several calls yesterday, and everybody talked about me going to Vegas, and I hope I didn't need bail money and, things like that, right? You can't help but be personable, which I think is great. If your call is with a third-party recruiter, keep in mind that they are trying to think of many clients to put you in front of, not just one opportunity. And so you want to try, and I know it's hard when it's just, initial phone screen, but talk about everything that you've done throughout that position in all of your positions, because in any job, right, oftentimes industry pays. And so, I worked at this company and did X, Y, and Z. And so it's just a broad range type of call in what you've done kind of throughout your career, and then what it is you want to do. So we'll know kind of what to target.
Yeah, Maggie and Shawn just covered everything. So
I love it. Fantastic. And let's get to before the screening, before the call. Assuming I have deep experience and have tailored everything for the job description, how can I stand out in a sea of applicants? What ideally would get you as a recruiter to reach out to a candidate? Good question.
yeah, I want to go back to what Maggie said, tailoring your resume to matching the job itself. So if you want recruiters to get to you and reaching out saying that you're qualified for the job, then you have to tailor it. There's some recruiters, for some of us, we've been doing it for so long that we can kind of see some of the bullet points, and we can, this person may have the experience, I'm going to give them a call. Other recruiters who maybe just started, don't really know the skill set, may be like, okay, well, I don't see the qualifications on the resume. They don't match the job itself. And you may have the experience, but if it's not listed there, they're not going to move forward. And that's where again, with Maggie mentioning, tailor your resume to match the job that you're applying to. You don't need to have 20 different resumes. You can just adjust maybe 1 or 2 bullet points and some of the summary as well. But that's where it make you stand out even more, except if you're matching your qualifications, your experience to the job that you're applying to.
I think that's a great point, but I also think to Shawn's point too, this is where the networking comes in, right? If you want to stand out, if you want to, be the top contender, I am a professional stalker and I get paid to do that, right? So I'm always going to, anytime I post a position on LinkedIn, I will get flooded in my inbox with resumes. I look there first before I look at the actual job posting. I assume in-house recruiters are the same. And I encourage candidates, if they're looking for a position at an ABC company, and I know that company's not working with recruiters, so I can't get in there. I will often tell candidates, see if you can find the accounting manager that could possibly be managing, that staff accountant search on LinkedIn, and invite them to connect. Do the process, right? Apply to the position, send your resume, do their process, and then go and send that accounting manager a LinkedIn invite. And then once they connect with you, make an introduction. Hey, I applied to your position. I'm very interested in this opportunity. I mean, I consider it professional stalking, but you're coming to them, right? Like you're taking charge of your search.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, 3 days ago, I did a post and I think I got like 15,000 views in 5 hours and 125 resumes.
Yes.
And it's based off that versus going through an ATS or an email. People were dropping off resumes. So a lot of folks I was networked with or connected with, which is amazing. People that I weren't connected with, they actually shot me a message to connect saying, hey, I got A, B, and C for the job I saw online. Let's connect or let's talk about it. So networking is so crucial, and every industry is different. But I think, once you kind of open up that door and you start a relationship, even just chatting back and forth, small talk, it just keeps building that trust between the two of you to partner up to find that, lasting job for yourself.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing. And our next question from Joseph, how do you quantify accomplishments, especially if you were at a job for over 10 years?
Ooh, I like that one.
It's a good
So
one.
I encourage candidates every year, every couple of years, you constantly need to be updating your resume, even if you have no plans to leave. Because if you've been in a job for 10 years, I promise you're not going to remember all the things that you accomplished and things that you did in the beginning versus where you are now. And so just keeping that running list of accomplishments in real time it's a game changer for sure.
Yeah, especially systems too. Like if
Yes.
if there's a particular system that you use in the past and you can't remember it because it's not on your resume, again, what Maggie was saying, make sure real time, put it in just so in case you don't forget yourself and you're like, oh, I remember the name now, and this is what it was. So definitely list out the systems, list out anything else, because again, you may not remember it. So as long as it's there, then you can go back and reference it.
Definitely. That's a gregreat question, Joseph. I'm taking notes because I think Maggie and Kate actually did a great job explaining that. So now I got to make sure I do that. Yeah, I think, the ladies answered. There's nothing really to add on that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the job evolves, right? So
Right.
it's good to keep track because I do not remember what I was doing at the beginning. It's changed immensely. So
Well, and I think one piece that's often forgotten too, I mean, I know this is really geared towards job seekers, but even if you're happy in your role and you want to stay there, a lot of companies do yearly reviews. And so why wouldn't you keep a list of your accomplishments so you can very actively participate in your review time, right? Like I was able to do all of these things this year. Look at me. I need some more money, things like that. So, I mean, keep a running list all day.
well said. Absolutely. And we have a question from Sanjay. I'm sorry, that was not a question, but that's a comment. Thank you for sharing, Sanjay. It is great to use metrics. We appreciate it. Sorry
Yes.
about that, everybody. We have a question. If a resume has a summary, do you still need or want to get a cover letter from the applicant? Good question.
I never want a cover letter. I'm sorry, Shawn, I jumped all over that. Unless it's explaining something that your resume doesn't, right? Like if there's a gap in there because you took some time off to raise a family or took a hiatus, whatever, then maybe I need a cover letter. But aside from that, I'm not going to look at it. I'm sure. I don't know how the team feels, but
No, I'm in the same boat, Maggie. Cover letters are great and all, but I'm actually, the cover letter to me is the interview process of me talking with the candidate and me developing, some additional bullet comments maybe that wasn't on the resume based on our discussion back and forth. Uh, Different industries definitely sounds like some industries really want a cover letter. For me personally, in the telecom industry, it's not needed. It's not a bad thing because it does give us sometimes a different perspective of things that you don't have labeled on your resume. But yeah, I think it all depends on the industry. There's nothing that's going to hurt you to have a cover letter if you're submitting it. But if you partner up with a System 1 recruiter, they'll know best, if that position may need a cover letter or not.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I mean, for life science and healthcare, we really don't need a cover letter. But if we're talking to you, depending on the job or the client that we work with, if they're requiring some questions to be answered, we'll send that over to you. But for the most part, we really don't need the cover letter because we'll get most of the information out on the pre-screen with you, and then we'll talk about further steps.
Absolutely. And the recruiter will know they have a relationship with the client. So our next question from Sanjay. What's your opinion on applying to positions that you meet 80% of the qualifications because you want to grow to the remaining 20%? Great question.
I love candidates that are 75% or more because I know there's room for growth, especially in the telecom industry that I'm focused in. Not everybody's a purple squirrel, and the clients and the companies realize that having experience, previous experience, some training behind you, and really it's the attitude and the go-getter that you have within you. That's really the key. Is we're as for me as a recruiter, I'm looking for people that are striving for more, that want to kind of have a progression in their career and want to give 100%. You have to be willing to give 100%. So 75% of a qualified candidate in my eyes is perfect. It's 100% for me. That's how I look at it.
I agree all day. And, we are attracted to those candidates that are motivated and hungry and, eager to do more. And so, if you can do the job and you're 100% match, what are you going to gain from it? Right? Like, is it a new industry? Maybe, but what else? What are you working towards? To me, that says you're very quickly going to get bored. If there's no, room for potential growth. And clients are often looking for somebody, skills, hard skills are just as important as soft skills, and for the group, for the team, and everything else. And so while it's hard to kind of put that on paper, right, they're going to know when they meet you, that can often outweigh those hard skills.
Yeah, I agree. And most of the time the clients are looking for someone to stay long term. So if you are, like 75% matching it or 80% matching it and you're missing the 20%, they know that okay, you want to stay, you want to grow with the company, you want to be here long term. And there's gonna be a couple of challenges for you, which I think all of us want those challenges in our careers and our lives, that they know that okay, you're not just going to leave. You know what I mean? I think a lot of times people, they go for a job that they're 100% qualification for. And then if they don't like it, they may leave after a month, which again, understandable. But I think, for you, definitely go for it. Try to, apply for those jobs. Don't hold yourself back for wanting to have that career growth. But again, they might give you that chance and opportunity to really advance your career, and you might be able to learn a lot more, more responsibilities within the company itself.
Fantastic. And we have time for one more question today. Caroline wants to know, for networking reach outs, I often use a value snapshot that I send along with my CV. Is there a value to this from a recruiter standpoint? Good question.
I'll answer. I personally want the seat, like I want the resume. I think that's the most important. But if there's also a job that you saw on our website, they were like, I'm really interested in, I always like to say, send me the link to the job that you're really interested in, so that I actually can look into it to see if it matches your resume, your background, and then we can talk about it more. And then if let's just say, for instance, you're not qualified for it based on some of the requirements, then I can tell you right off the bat, but then still would like to set up a call regardless. And maybe there's other opportunities that might be a better fit for you. But those are typically what I look at the most, is the resume. And if there's a particular job that you're interested in.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's great advice. I mean, networking reach outs are great and all. I kind of like to see the resume, see what positions you're looking at, and kind of build. It's unique, and every industry is different. Every recruiter is different. Every day I could get a new job, and it could be 20 miles from the last job you were interested in. So I try to build tear sheets and build a relationship for candidates that are looking at certain areas that might be an 80% solution for a position. So it's important just to kind of connect, send the resume, talk to a recruiter to start building that relationship. That's going to help out. But the reach outs are good. Everybody's different. It's not a deal breaker. You'll continue to do it. It's just going to help you out.
Agree.
Perfect. Well, that's all the time we have today. I really want to thank everyone for sending in their questions. Those were great discussions. Don't forget to follow us on LinkedIn if you're not already, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can view more episodes of Sound Off with System 1. Our next episode of Sound Off with System 1, we will be discussing how to use AI to land your next opportunity. We'll see you then.